It's the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast, brought to you by 90 Min, and we are live.
You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast.
I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening to Harry Symeou.
Hello and welcome back to another live edition of the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast, brought to you by 90 Min. As ever, I'm your host, Harry Symeou, and I'm delighted to be joined by a very special guest. He's the editor over at the Gooner Fanzine. He's a friend. He's somebody I look up to in the world of journalism. Can't get my words out. I'm delighted to welcome back to the show, Layth Yousif. How you doing, mate?
Hello, mate. How you doing? Thanks for having us on. Good to see you, Harry.
Good to see you too, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the programme. It's been a crazy last week or so, hasn't it? There was the Super League that crumbled, the protests, the talk about KSC, the talk about the Spotify CEO, Daniel Ek, potentially being interested in the club. What have you made of the last week in general? And then I'll come on to ask you a little bit about the proposed takeover.
Yeah, absolutely. Where'd you start? Literally, it's been such a crazy couple of weeks. I mean, I was at the Arsenal Fulham game. I was covering it for the Morning Star newspaper. Just a run-of-the-mill game, slightly frustrating. Obviously, we got the equaliser in the last minute. You go home, typical Sunday night back at home, and it all just, the world goes crazy. The story obviously broke late on Sunday night, and to be fair, fans mobilised straight away. It was so inspiring to see the way that Arsenal fans, and obviously fans from every football club across the country and across the continent as well, they really weren't going to take this. The unity and the solidarity that was shown immediately. There was no vested interest. I mean, it would have been easy for Arsenal fans and other fans for the big six to go, yeah, we'll be all right. Who cares about anyone else? But I didn't see one suggestion in that. I didn't see one. I've talked to so many people this week, and not one person has said that. We've run a lot of stories on the Gooner website against the Super League, strongly worded stories, strongly worded pieces, opinion pieces. We've had so many people. We've literally had thousands of people come to us and just oppose it, basically. So yeah, as soon as the story broke on Sunday night, everyone wheeled into action. AST have been absolutely amazing. You know, there's been so many others as well. Even down to fan groups asking for banners to be removed from the Emirates, things like that. It was death by 1,000 cuts, basically. So when fans say to me, or when an individual says to me, you know, fans can't change anything, Arsenal fans and fans on a wider basis, they changed the ideas and plans of 6 billionaires, 12 billionaires, 15 billionaires. How many ever you want to label it? Basically, there was billionaires across Europe that wanted to change the face of football forever and throw away 150 years of tradition and the ethos and essence of sport by not having relegation and things like that. So fans mobilised, and they mobilised in a completely spontaneous way. It was sort of shepherded by groups like AST, and they deserve full respect. Akil Vyas was absolutely amazing in holding Josh Kroenke to count as well on the live Zoom call last Thursday. It's been so heartening to see. And as editor of the Gooner, we played a very, very small part in that. We were only a very, very small cog in a very, very big wheel, but we're proud of that. And all our readers can be very proud of the fact that they got in touch. We shared a lot of their stories. They got in touch just to raise their objections as well. And if you channel that along with so many others, including your good self and everything else that people do, then you can say that, you know, Fans United won't be defeated in the face of something that is just not right on so many levels. So yeah, take a bow. I was obviously at the demonstration on Friday as well at the Emirates, and it was so heartening to see. It was almost like an old school cup final with the amount of sort of homemade banners and things like that. And there was a lot of anger there, but it was channeled in the right way. It was controlled. There was wit, there was irony, there was reverence there as well, which is the basis of all good demonstrations. It doesn't just have to be anger. longer. There's a lot more to it as well. And we sent a message. Arsenal fans sent a message. Football fans sent a message to Stan Kroenke beyond the European Super League now. People are talking about sort of, Josh Kroenke saying, oh yeah, we're in it for the long term and we might set up an advisory board. That's too late. We want Kroenke's out of our club, basically. And as you touched on a minute ago, Daniel Ek, he would be an absolute wonderful choice to be the billionaire that takes over. Obviously, yeah. When someone said, "Oh yeah, what billionaires out there? Who's got 2 billion spare in their wallet?" Well, looks like Daniel Ek potentially can, and he seems quite a progressive person as well. If you're running Spotify, you're not going to be as entrenched and as sour-faced and as sort of longing for the status quo as someone like the Kroenke'S. So yeah, it's full steam forward. I know there's going to be apparently there's going to be another protest for the second leg against Villarreal on Thursday, May the 6th. So yeah, come along. People have been stuck inside for 13 months. Lockdown's easing. Come along, make your voice heard, because it was inspiring to be part of that and to report on it as well as with my journalist hat on. But I was there first and foremost as a fan, and it was absolutely incredible to be part of.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I was down there too, and I was taken aback by just how many people came out to make their voices heard. I mean, we'd seen the widespread outrage off the back of the Super League proposal. We'd seen it shut down, but to see everybody come out the way they did, and as you say, channel it in the right way was really, really inspiring. You mentioned Daniel Ek there, and there's been a lot of talk over the last sort of 24 hours about the potential of him launching a bid to take over the club. It said that he's enlisted the help of Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Dennis Bergkamp, which in the eyes of the fans, of course, is brilliant. And that sounds like somebody who already understands a little bit more than the Kroenke'S of what would appease the fans and what would please them. A lot of people have kind of shut it down, though. And I'm talking about Arsenal fans as well, who have gone, well, it's irrelevant because the Kroenke'S don't want to sell. They've made it clear they don't want to sell. I've been talking about the fact that I think a combination of factors could lead to them potentially reconsidering their position. The collapse of the Super League, the fact that the club is no longer turning a profit, or currently anyway. All of those things, plus the fan pressure, could potentially, in my opinion, at least lead them to consider it. How likely is it, in your opinion, that if the right money is on the table, KSE will say, let's do this?
Absolutely, Harry. You make a lot of really, really good points there. Yeah, first and foremost, I can't believe that. I mean, there's not a lot of negativity, but from what I've seen, there's not 100% support for this. And it's like, well, what do you want? We've got 3 absolute legends fronting up as part of a progressive young billionaire's plans to potentially take over the club. It doesn't get better than this. There's not going to be another shining white knight coming out of the ether to offer something better. This is as good as it's going to get. What do you want? And people are going, oh yeah, well, he's got his shares tied up in Spotify. Have you heard of that? What did the Glazers do to buy Man United? What did the Kroenke'S do with the Deutsche Bank deal? They leveraged what they had to take money out and to borrow money to buy the club. Daniel Ek could turn around tomorrow and say, look, I need to borrow £2 billion from a bank, and they'd give it to him straight away. It's not. He might even have that down the back of the sofa. You just don't know, basically. And obviously, we need to look into this further. But there's no issue with the fact that he's got the money to buy Arsenal Football Club, and obviously the Kroenke'S being the rapacious capitalists people they are. They bought the club for what, £1 billion? They want to double that. It's Daniel Ek's money. And I'd like to think he's not going to borrow off the assets of Arsenal Football Club to buy it, but it wouldn't be the first time a billionaire's done that. And if he wants to give him £2 billion, I would happily say, well, there you go, there's £2 billion. Get the Kroenke'S out of our club. Get a progressive young millionaire who understands the club, who knows the club, and who wants to take the club forward in a really progressive way. Because for the Kroenke'S, it doesn't matter what Arsenal do. They're not seen as a negative. They're not seen as a positive in his sort of sporting portfolio. They're just there, and then they bring in a bit of money, and he looks at the LA Rams and all the rest of it. If we were part of, if we were owned by Daniel Ek, he would see that as a massive part of his portfolio. He would see it as there'd be a lot of synergies there between us and Spotify and that sort of progressive company, really, and he would want to leverage that. He would want to push that, and Arsenal could be at the forefront of football, let alone innovative marketing ideas a club that listens to the fans, a club that has fans on board as well. He's hinted at that too. So there's so many good things to come out of it. And if you're against it, okay, well, that's your opinion, absolutely fine, fair enough. But there's not too many other progressive billionaires out there who could do a better job in as far as I can see. You know, and it's strange to see that. You know, if we'd have listened to the negativity last Sunday, we'd have the Super League now. So, you know, come on, lads, get behind it at least look into it, at least consider it, because I certainly am.
Yeah, and even if we, you know, we don't really, you know, we can guess how Daniel Ek would go about things if he was in charge based on what he's done previously, based on the fact that, as you say, he runs a very modern, innovative company currently. But ultimately, for me anyway, and putting the Daniel Ek stuff to one side, right now, the first thing that needs to happen is we need to get the Kroenke'S out. And there's no point in getting upset about what a new potential owner might do when the Kroenke'S are still here. We have to move them on first. And that's the most important thing for me. I mean, Layth, I've got you on here, and I'm lucky enough to contribute to the Gooner Fanzine, which is a fantastic publication. It's brilliant. I really enjoy contributing to it. For me, it's something that's got a very special place in my heart because I used to buy it as a kid walking up to the stadium. So to write for it is amazing. I know that there's a campaign going on to save the fanzine. We want to keep it going. We need the support of the people, and we know there's a loyal reader base out there. So over to you, just to let the guys know and all the listeners know how they can help save the fanzine, because it's been a really difficult time, of course, without fans being at the stadiums.
Absolutely. And just want to say thanks for your kind words, Harry, just then and at the start of the show as well. And we're absolutely honoured to have you in the fanzine. It's people like yourself that keep the fanzine going and why people buy the fanzine, basically. So yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, it's been a massive learning curve, even for me as a journalist who puts, you know, who's put magazines together, who's put newspapers together, who's worked every day for the last decade as a journalist. It's been a massive curve for me because you have to learn so many other things as well. You have to learn about marketing and trying to push your product, really. But yeah, in terms of the Gooner itself, it has been really tough because obviously we've not had any fans to sell to for the last 13 months. And I know that the last 13 months have been so tough for everyone out there. You know, I personally lost someone to COVID. I know a lot of people who've lost loved ones to COVID. I know people who've been furloughed, who've got a massive uncertainty about their futures. I know people with health issues because of COVID and things like that. So, you know, in terms of your life and your things that mean something to you and your family and your career and your job and all the rest of it, the Gooner's way down the bottom. And I completely get that. And I completely understand that. And I completely respect that. But it was one of my favourite quotes is, football is the most important of least important things. So if you value good writing, if you value informed, intelligent and irreverent writing from a whole host of brilliant Arsenal writers, including your good self as well. We've got so many others as well. We have got a really loyal readership. We've had so much goodwill out there. It's been so heartwarming to see the amount of messages and posts and everything else that has been channeled towards the Gooner. We just need to change that and channel that into sign-ups. We need people to sign up for a subscription. You know, for the last 3 or 4 years, we have been in quite a perilous place. You know, as a lot of people know, print media isn't what it was. No one, you know, it's not a market that's growing, but at the same time, you know, I always liken it to vinyl, and I'm sure I've said this before. You know, people loved vinyl. You know, it didn't mean that anyone bought it for 15, 20 years. Now it's been more of a bit of a resurgence. People are getting back into it for lots of reasons. Not the fact it's a brilliant product, but because it's quite cool. It's a boutique purchase. It's good to have. It's great to hold something tangible in your hands and listen to it. Likewise with the Gooner, it's great to hold something in your hands and read really good quality writing. So we're trying to position it as something you would buy as part of your trip to the Emirates, and that's been happening for years anyway. But we want that to happen online now because so many people aren't around to buy it in person. So we need people to sign up to a subscription. If you're in the UK, it's £30 a season. If you're away from the UK, anywhere else in the rest of the world, it's £49. Basically, I did the maths. If you're in the UK, it works at 8 pence a day. Tell me what else you can get for 8 pence a day that's such good quality value. It's 68 pages. It's just brilliant writing. We've also tried to channel the brilliant Arsenal creatives out there as well. There's a lot of good work going on by people who use images and pictures and all sorts of really brilliant creative stuff I couldn't even get my head around. People like Carl Burke, an Arsenal editor, Ruth Beck as well, who does some brilliant Islington prints and arts as well. We're trying to get together. We're trying to get it all under one roof to make it a purchase that you would need to buy. It's got to be a must-read purchase, and hopefully we're getting there. But we need people to sign up. So go to our website, sign up for a £30 subscription. Sign up for 30 years as well if you want. That'd be great. Yeah, whether it's a 1 year, we've introduced a new thing where you can sign up for a direct debit, and that goes on basically. The thinking being no one ever cancels a direct debit. So if you do that, you'll ensure the future of the Gooner for the next 10 years at least. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who's supported us so far. And if you can sign up, great. And to people who have already, thank you so much. And yeah, buy the Gooner, subscribe to the Gooner. You'll read Harry in the next issue in May as well. So yeah, cheers, mate.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, make sure you do head over, guys. You can see, if you're watching us via YouTube, you can see the banner across the bottom of the screen. Save the fanzine by heading over to onlinegooner.com, and from there you can set up your direct debit and help support this brilliant publication. Layth, I know you've got a dash, mate, so thank you so much for coming on, sharing your thoughts. It's always a pleasure, and I'm sure I'll see you at the Emirates sooner rather than later.
Cheers, Harry. Top man. Thanks a lot. All the best.
Take care, mate. All the best. That was the brilliant Layth Yousif of the Gooner fanzine joining me to discuss what's gone on in the last week or so. It's been a crazy week, and also giving you guys some information on how you can support the Gooner fanzine. So how are you guys feeling about the news regarding Daniel Ek, the Swedish billionaire CEO of Spotify, who is rumored to be very, very interested in purchasing Arsenal Football Club? I talked about it yesterday. I talked about how I thought it was, a positive, and it was great to see somebody showing an interest in the football club. As I said to Layth, we're desperate to see the back of the Kroenke'S. I think he's played it very smart by supposedly enlisting the help of 3 Arsenal legends, 3 players who have a very special place in the hearts and minds of our fan base. The whole thing around the money, I think that if you're in that kind of position, I think you can raise the money. I talked about it yesterday, the fact that, there will be different ways of doing that, whether that's by financing it, whether that's by, teaming up with others and putting together a little bit of a consortium. There's lots of different ways. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Daniel Ek buying the club. My biggest concern at the moment is persuading the Kroenke'S to sell. And, there's been rumors today that the Kroenke'S would consider an offer of around about £2.5 billion, which probably sounds about right. You could argue that the club is probably worth slightly less than that because of the way things have gone in recent seasons. But if they don't want to sell, you've obviously got to offer them a price that persuades them to sell, which means you're going to have to put that little bit of a chunk on top. So let me know in the comments your thoughts. I know there's been a lot of negativity towards Daniel Ek and the way the things work at Spotify. I know there's been quite a bit of noise in the past about the artists not being paid as much as they should have for sort of hits on their songs and stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting to hear what you guys have to say. Let's go over to the live chat and take some of your comments. Reading Gooner says, does the Daniel Ek stuff seem too good to be true? Arsenal legends and a fan. Yeah, I mean, I can see that perspective, and I can see why people are cautious around it. And as I said to you yesterday, yes, it is a story, and there is often no smoke without fire. However, it is really early days in this, in this process, if you like. And I'm not talking about Mikel Arteta's process here. I'm talking about the ownership of the club. If he's expressed an interest, great. But there's going to be a lot of work that needs to go on by Daniel Ek and his people before they'll be able to launch a formal bid for the club. I find it hard to believe that he's gone from expressing an interest on Friday to tabling a formal bid on Tuesday. I don't think things happen that quickly. I think that this is a massive deal, and it's a deal that, if it is to go ahead, is going to require much planning, much due diligence, etc., etc. So yeah, I think the idea of this happening kind of instantly is a little bit far-fetched. I think that we've heard about the interest of Aliko Dangote, the Nigerian businessman, for years and years and years, and that's never come to fruition. So even with this one, we can't get carried away. Although I would argue that Daniel Ek is somebody who's probably a little bit more credible in terms of his current business and how he's made his money. So let's see. And as Sam says in the chat, I think a lot of fans just don't want to get their hopes up, and I completely get that. I really, really do. Let's see what else you guys are saying as well. Brad Richardson says, what will the roles be of the 3 Invincibles? I think that's the major question, isn't it? And I think people have to consider that. I think what's kind of happened here is that the profile of these 3 Arsenal legends has almost been dangled in front of us as a kind of a deal breaker, and we've all sat there and gone, oh well, Patrick Vieira's coming, Thierry Henry's coming, Dennis Bergkamp's coming, brilliant. Yeah, but what are they actually going to be doing? That's a really good question from Brad, and the answer is I don't know. What would I have them doing is first of all, let's get this out of the way. I don't want Thierry Henry or Patrick Vieira to be the managers. I don't want either of them to be sat in the dugout. I think that they're both Arsenal heroes, Arsenal legends. I think they've both tried their hands at management so far, and they haven't done overly well, or they haven't been overly impressive enough to make me feel like they could do a good job in that position at a club the size of Arsenal. So for me, it would be, I would like to see them on the board. I'd like to see them have a say in sort of the running of the football club, just primarily because A, they have a huge profile. That means, the fans will automatically be behind them. B, because they've been at the club during a golden era and understand what is required to almost bring those days back. And C, because we need a bloody change on the board. At the moment, you've got Lord Harris of Peckham on there along with the Kroenke'S, and then you've got Lewis as a non-executive director. It's a very, very closed shop. And the idea of Eck bringing in fan representation to the board as well is something that obviously appeals to the fans too. So it feels like he's pushing all the right buttons. But going back to Brad's question about what will the roles be of the 3 Invincibles, that remains to be seen if, of course, this takeover goes forward. I've got another question in the chat about what that would potentially mean for the likes of Edu and Mikel Arteta. I don't know. I don't know. And obviously whoever comes in, if anybody comes in and takes over the club, might have different views and opinions on the direction in which we should be going. From a football perspective, perhaps they won't feel that Mikel Arteta is the right man. They won't want Edu in that position. And you know what? The issue here is, I back Mikel Arteta. I still think that there's something there. I still look at him and feel that he will go on to become a top coach. But if we lose Mikel Arteta as collateral damage because the club gets taken over by someone with better interests, then so be it. It sounds harsh, sounds horrible, but I said it yesterday when somebody asked me about whether I'd be upset if we lost Xhaka because Henry came in. No, it's, sometimes you need to accept collateral damage, for the greater good of the football club, of the company, of the business, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not against that. If it sees Arsenal progress, if it sees Arsenal move forward, I'm happy for us to almost take that on the chin. So let's see how that pans out. But in terms of their roles and what that might mean for the roles I'm talking about of the 3 legends that are said to be linked with this proposed takeover, and Mikel Arteta and Edu, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Top Techer says, Harry, I know that the better the devil but I hope this deal with Eck goes through. According to Forbes, Arsenal are worth 2 billion. No owner we will get will be 100% clean when they have made so much money. But to a degree, and this is probably going to sound like a really shitty thing to say, and I know some people might take offense to this, but from a footballing perspective, I'm not really fussed about how they made their millions or billions. It's, for me, it's about, will they hold the club's best interests at heart? Will they do what's right for the club from a footballing standpoint? That's what's most important to me. And you take Roman Abramovich as a prime example. He is somebody who has a sketchy past. He is somebody whom there are huge question marks over, ethical issues and how he's made his billions. But you can't argue with the way he runs Chelsea Football Club. They've enjoyed their most successful period in their history ever, and then some under his ownership. He constantly pumps money in to improve the team, to improve the squad. And that's what you want to see as a fan, isn't it? So, yeah, I agree that, you know, they're not going to be 100% clean, and there may be some bits and pieces that come up from a past that has ultimately seen them earn this kind of fortune, but it is what it is. Pat Moyle says, Arsenal fans have looked down on clubs like Chelsea and Man City. Now it seems we want to be like them. Our next owner needs to be a fit and proper owner. What makes legends of the club good owners? I get what you're saying, Pat. I really do. I guess, you know, the whole idea of sort of them being fit and proper is, of course, something I agree with, and that's what that Premier League test is in place to do. You know, granted, it hasn't always worked, but it has worked at times. You know, we've seen Newcastle's proposed takeover being shut down because of issues outside of football, and rightly so. But the issue is nowadays, Pat, that we're at a point where football clubs are worth so much more than they've ever been worth before. We're at a point where Arsenal is worth, you know, £2 billion according to Forbes. And I don't think that in its history, Arsenal's probably ever been seen as an asset of that kind of money. You know, maybe a few years back when we were in the Champions League, but, you know, over the wider picture, over the course of a longer history, football clubs are at their most expensive. So there's only a select group of people in the world that can afford to rock up one day and say, I want to buy a football club. I want to buy this club. This is going to be my new toy, my new business, etc. So it becomes difficult to be really fussy, you know, because, as I say, the pool of people who are able financially to do a deal like this is obviously so small. But I agree. Look, you know, and I've read nothing to suggest that Daniel Ek is a crook or anything like that, which is why I'm not overly concerned by the prospect of him taking over. I've read some bad things about Dangote, the Nigerian businessman, as I've said already, and I'd be less in favor of that takeover. But, you know, I'm not an expert with regards to any of these guys and their histories. But as I say, on the surface, Daniel Ek looks like someone that I wouldn't mind coming in. Spiral Sam says, are Henry and Vieira willing to give up their managerial and coaching careers for stakes in Arsenal? This is something that I was discussing actually yesterday with our producer Jeremy during the VSIN Premier League commentary. At halftime, we were talking about this, and I said, you know, I found it a little bit weird that Patrick Vieira and Thierry Henry would just give up on their managerial careers to come and sit at board level in North London. So I found that a little bit strange. But as I said already on this episode, neither of them have particularly covered themselves in glory in their early managerial days. I think Patrick Vieira has probably done more and looked better than Thierry Henry. But, you know, are they ready to give up on that kind of road, or are they ready to turn back down the pathway towards managerial success, if you like, to occupy a boardroom role? I don't know. And you know, we're going to have to wait and see. What else have we got here? Matt G, one of our members. How you doing, Matt? He says, what gives me hope that this is legit is that he would have had to convince them of his intentions in order to get their buy-in. Yeah, completely agree. The only thing is, Matt, I just feel like this has happened all too fast, all too quickly. And, you know, that makes me worry that, or wonder is probably the better word, whether it is actually as far down the line as some of the reports are suggesting, whether it is 100% concrete. You know, if you're looking to take over a company the size of Arsenal, if you're looking to make an investment that big, surely you do a little bit more due diligence, and that due diligence is likely to take more than just a few days, isn't it? That's how I feel about it anyway. Let's go back over to the live chat. But before we do that, just a quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, make sure you smash the like button on the video. There's over 200 of you watching us at the moment. Let's have a quick look where we are at in terms of our likes. Let's check out on YouTube. Where are we? We've only got 37. There's over 200 of you watching, and we've only got 37 likes, guys. Come on, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you wish to become a member, then please do click on the link in the description. Just a quick reminder that this episode is brought to you by Earth Echo Foods Limited. So you can check out Earth Echo Foods and their fantastic new healthy food products. I'm going to be leaving the link in the description. Click on the link and enter the discount code, which you can also find in the description, to get yourself 15% off on any of your orders. It's a fantastic food brand that are making healthy foods, eco-friendly stuff as well. So check it all out, get involved, and if you're interested, use that discount code. You might as well, you save yourself a few quid. Right, let's go back over to the chat box. I love this from London Trident. He says Spurs fans loading up their Spotify playlist knowing every listen is helping to buy Arsenal a new centre back. Absolutely love that. What else have we got here? Alcarp says, do you think there will be a bidding war now between Dangote and Ek? I'm not actually sure that Dangote's interest has ever been that concrete to the point where he actually put his money where his mouth is, because he's been talking about it for years and years and years, and there's never been any movement on it. So I'm not really sure that he would be at the table if discussions were to take place. But I'm really trying not to get carried away with this. I'm trying to stay calm about it all, because as much as I would love it to happen, I'm still not at the point where I believe the Kroenke'S want to sell the football club. I think we as a fan base are going to need to put a lot more pressure on them. I think we need to continue the protests. I've seen that there's been some more scheduled for other games, and I'm hoping that the turnout is even half as good as it was for the Friday night one against Everton. That would be fantastic. But I'm still a little bit not skeptical, but I'm still sitting here feeling as though we need to put more pressure on them. We need the Super League to completely, or the idea of the Super League to completely disappear. And we almost need to be, and it kills me to say this, but we need to become less and less profitable for the Kroenke'S to look at the club and go, well, this is not really worth our while anymore. So let's see how it's going to go. But there's plenty of work to be done behind the scenes if this is indeed going to go through. Hermione, one of our members, says people talking like Ek was a Russian oligarch who got his money through fraud. It's not his fault that Spotify doesn't pay the artist. It's the labels who set the price. Interesting there, because that is one of the big criticisms that has been directed towards Daniel Ek, over the last sort of 24 hours or so, is that there's this issue between Spotify and the artists that have their music on there, which admittedly I know nothing about. Strife 777 says, imagine if the legend spoke to Flamini to get involved. There has been talk about that. There has been talk about Matteo Flamini being contacted. Of course, Matteo Flamini has a big profitable company of his own, and he's been pursuing his interests outside of football for a long time, and he stands to be he stands to become even more wealthy as the years go by. As I said, I've read a report this morning that Daniel Ek has also enlisted the help of Matteo Flamini as they look to make this happen, but again, I can't be sure of it, so I don't want to say for certain that is happening, that is the truth, but that's what we're led to believe. So let's see how this goes. Right, I think we're going to leave it there. And we're going to be back a little bit later on with another piece of content, and starting bright and early from tomorrow morning, we begin our build up to that huge Europa League semi-final between Arsenal and Villarreal. The first leg takes place on Thursday night at El Madrigal, and of course we'll be bringing you a live watch along of that game. I'm really looking forward to the watch along. Can't say I'm looking forward to the game, because I think the nerves are going to get the better of me, but we'll crack open a couple of beers while we're doing it. Seemed to work a treat in the second leg against Slavia, and I hope to see some of you along here with me. So we're going to take a bit of a pause now for the rest of the day. And as I say, we'll drop another episode of the podcast a little bit later on. So keep an eye on your feed. If you're listening via the audio, it will be dropping in the morning. But if you are listening on the audio, check out the YouTube channel as well. Subscribe on all platforms. It really, really helps. And also, if I could kindly ask that you check out my Simply Serie A podcast with Vittorio Campanile, also part of the 90 Min Network. We dropped a new episode earlier on today. You can find it on all major podcast stores. Just type in Simply Serie A. But we've also placed the video version of it on this channel. So it's the previous video. Head over, check it out, have a listen. If you're interested in Italian football, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. If you're not, maybe it will spark your interest in Serie A. Who knows? Until next time, take care of yourselves. Make sure you stay safe, and I'll catch you all very, very soon. Ciao.
You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast.
I'm Martin Tyler, and you're listening to Harry Symeou.